I'd rehearsed my big smile all morning, but it vanished the moment the florist's van blocked the front door of the reception hall, and my mother's favorite mauve roses spilled onto the pavement. "Here," Aunt Lorraine said, hustling past me with a box of boutonnieres. "You've got to catch those before they get crushed." I dropped my clutch and scampered across the cobblestone walk, snatching the stems before they lost another petal. I stood up, heart pounding, clutching 24 perfectly ruffled blooms, and glanced back at the valet. My brand new Range Rover sat gleaming under a string of lanterns, an unspoken announcement that I'd made it. But as I turned to enter the Grand Willow Estate, my brother's wedding venue, I realized something strange. No one was greeting me. The front doors flew open on their own, a silent invitation into a cavernous foyer where my mother hovered beside the guest book. "Darling, you're here," she cried, her lipstick a little too red in the late afternoon light. "Your father would have been so proud." I swallowed a little too sharply. "Mom, hey," I handed her the roses. She tucked them into a blue vase on the family table sign-in station and patted my hand. "Your bouquet is perfect." I smiled, at least my brother would be seated at the head table. I'd been his best woman after all, through childhood's scraped knees, prom night panic, even that idiotic tech startup phase when I tried to launch a travel app for digital nomads. He'd cheered me on, he'd pitched investors. He'd even let me crash at his loft while my apartment flooded. He owed me, yet when I turned toward the grand hall, I found not a single place card with my name at the gleaming mahogany head table. Instead, an usher in a charcoal vest pointed me toward a narrow door off the foyer. "Kitchen number 4. That way." I blinked, rustling my chiffon skirt. "The kitchen," he nodded briskly. "Family-only seating is in the back for the main room. Kitchen staff seating is in the back there." The words hit me like a bouquet of rocks. My stomach rolled. I forced my hands to still. "I'm family." He glanced at his clipboard, then back at me. "I know, Miss Emerson. Your card's here in the kitchen." My card. In the kitchen, under the fluorescent hum of industrial lights, pot racks clanged, pastry cases steamed, and line cooks shouted in Cantonese. A low table against a cinder-block wall held 5 fold-up chairs. One of them had a pink place card reading Margaret Maggie's Emerson in my mother's swooping script. I stood frozen, the clank of roasting pans filling my ears. A silver-haired grandmother stooped over soufflé molds, a teenage nephew hunched over half-carved turkeys, and 3 chefs maneuvered through a gauntlet of ovens. Nobody looked up. I inched toward the nearest seat. My phone buzzed. A text from my marketing director. "Emergency, your client wants approval by 6 p.m. I'd flown back from Sydney this morning just to be here, but my company, Emerson Events, had a standing contract to plan the post-wedding brunch for my brother's new in-laws, the Romanoffs. I'd spent 6 months securing top caterers, sourcing heirloom linen napkins from Italy, and negotiating the Greek yogurt bar theme directly with Mr. Romanoff himself. $30,000 of revenue. A flagship event for my portfolio. Yet at my own brother's wedding, I was banished to the kitchen. I dropped onto the chair, fisting the place card. The chaotic heat pressed in bubbling sauces, whirring mixers, and the muffled strains of Canon in D echoing faintly down the hallway. My vision blurred. I tapped out a text, running 10 mins late. "Send over menu revisions now." A chef in white-stained pants hustled by, steam swirling around him like a ghost. I bolted upright. "Excuse me, Chef Andre?" He glanced back, sweat-dewed brow furrowed. "Yes, Miss Emerson, kitchen liaison." I pressed my card to the table. "I'm your liaison for the Romanoff brunch. The menu revisions, they're urgent." He tilted his head, peering at the card, then at me, then back at the ovens. "Brunch liaison reports to banquet office." Banquet office. The place I'd signed the contract. I could feel my cheeks burn. "I'm also family." He shrugged. "You can have a sandwich from the staff line." He pivoted away, leaving me clutching my place card like a lifeline. I sank back, the overhead fluorescent flickering, reflecting off the chrome. Family only for the ceremony. Fine. But relegating me to the kitchen. I'd stood in front of my proud father as he announced my company's launch to the Rotary Club. I'd negotiated corporate contracts with global wine suppliers. I'd planned charity galas that raised hundreds of thousands. I was not kitchen staff. My phone buzzed again. "Client says needs approval ASAP, or they'll move to another planner." I sank my head into my hands. Then I heard a familiar voice. "Maggie?" I looked up. It was my niece, 8-year-old Emma, her curls tucked into a white chef's beanie too big for her. She carried a whisk smeared with chocolate ganache. I tried to smile. Hey, pumpkin. She sat beside me, uncrossed her legs, and set the whisk on the table. This place is fun, Aunt Maggie. Can I make more cupcakes? I raked my fingers through my hair. Sure, sweetie. Why not? And forced a laugh. She leaned in. You look sad. Did Uncle Simon forget you? I blinked. He made a seating mistake. Her eyes went serious. I'll tell Mom you need to sit with me. I reached for her little hand. Thanks, kiddo. She squeezed my finger, then scurried off, joining the pastry station in a swirl of polka dots and sugar. I stared at the empty chair across from me. I could drown in indignation, or I could act. I had a contract. The Romanov brunch. $30,000 guaranteed. The contract stated that all revisions and approvals must go through our company's head planner, Margaret Emerson. And I was Margaret Emerson. So they banished me to the kitchen to ignore my phone calls, hopes, and revenue stream. Not on my watch. I rose, place card in hand, and scrambled out of the kitchen door into the corridor. The muffled organ chords gave way to chatter and laughter. I rounded a corner and found the banquet office, a small windowless room with tiered shelving of event folders. A harried assistant, Brittany, sat at a desk, phone pinched between shoulder and ear. Brittany, I called softly. She jumped. Maggie. Oh, sorry, Miss Emerson. I thought you were. I stepped forward. They seated me in the kitchen. Her face crumbled. I'm so sorry. She scrolled through her tablet. Your place card is here, I see. They must have misfiled chairs this morning. Let me fix it. I cut her off. No. We need to talk about the Romanov contract. Her eyes widened. Oh, right. You're on the menu approvals. I nodded. Exactly. I need those revisions on the Greek yogurt bar by 5:30, or they go with someone else. She exhaled. Okay. I'll text you the latest draft now. My phone buzzed immediately. I scrolled 3 PDF attachments, tracked changes in neon pink. I opened the first and nearly dropped my phone. The list of toppings had been rewritten. No heirloom honey, no lavender sprigs, no Kalamata olive drizzle. Instead, generic honey, dried lavender, and standard honey roasted almonds, all cheaper. My client would be furious. I tapped out a furious text to my head pastry chef. Chef calls me immediately. Greek yogurt bar revised without approval. Let's fix it. Then I turned to Brittany. Also, the champagne toast at Sunday brunch has been downgraded to sparkling wine. I need Dom Perignon 2008 or higher. She stared at her tablet. Dom Perignon? That wasn't in your original proposal. I held up my finger. It was. Check the signed contract. Her shoulders slumped. Okay, I'll handle it. I exhaled. For a moment the hallway was quiet, filled only with the hum of air conditioning. Then a booming voice. Margaret Emerson. What in heaven's name? I turned to see my brother Simon, marching toward me, tux jacket unbuttoned, tie at half-mast. His eyes were blazing. I squared my shoulders. Hi, Simon. He jerked his head toward the kitchen. Why aren't you at the head table? I tilted my chin. Why aren't we serving heirloom honey on the yogurt bar? His mouth snapped shut. Don't start with me, Maggie. I met his glare. I have a contract. Signed. With your in-laws. This entire weekend's brunch is my responsibility. And right now, someone's messing with the menu and cutting our budget. He ran his hand through his hair. It's my wedding, Maggie. Of course I'm cutting corners. My pulse thundered. Your wedding or not, I'm not running a loss for you. And I'm not your kitchen maid. He took a breath. You think I'm undermining you on purpose? I want you at the head table, but you never RSVP'd. I arched an eyebrow. I RSVP'd for one seat under family, not for kitchen staff seating. He stared, then exhaled. Nobody told me this. Sit wherever you want. Just, not at my fiancé's place. I blinked. What? He waved a hand. I promised Elena we'd have her family at a separate table. She's sensitive about seating. I thought you'd understand. My heart throbbed. You put your fiancé's comfort over your own sister's presence. He winced. I'm sorry. I screwed up. I glanced at my phone. 5:12 p.m. They'd given me 18 minutes to approve a $30,000 brunch menu. If I didn't, my company lost prestige. The Romanovs lost confidence, and I lost revenue. I squared my shoulders. Here's the deal. I'll come to your head table, only if you guarantee heirloom honey, Dom Perignon, and full menu approvals. Now, he blinked. You're threatening me. I tucked my phone in my pocket. I'm telling you my business depends on this weekend. And apparently my place at your wedding depends on it too. He blinked again, then shrugged one shoulder. Fine. Consider it done. I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. Good. Now go fix the seating. He nodded, faced a storm of guilt and relief, and strode off. I tapped out one last text to my pastry chef. Hold the line. Greek yogurt toppings, heirloom honey, fresh lavender buds, Kalamata olive drizzle, champagne, Dom Perignon, 2008. Confirm back by 5:30. Then I slipped into the corridor alongside him and marched toward the grand hall, blazer flying behind me, heels clicking like a metronome of purpose. As I pushed through the doors, the organ chord of Here Comes the Bride gave way to the hum of celebration. My mother's eyes widened when she saw me. Simon's fiancée, Elena, sat stiffly at the head table, eyes flicking between us. Friends and family turned to stare. I paused on the threshold, chin high. The glittering chandeliers overhead refracted like stars. In that moment, I didn't feel like kitchen staff. I felt like the CEO of Emerson Events and the sister who deserved her place. I smiled, walked up to Simon, and tapped him on the shoulder. Let's talk seating. His eyes darted to the head table, a single empty chair with my name card. I slid into it, sweeping the skirt of my dress around me. Mom shot me a triumphant thumbs up. Elena cleared her throat politely and offered me a glass of champagne. I took it, lifted it in a silent toast to myself and to part two, where I'd make sure my company's contract was honored. My brother learned a lesson in loyalty, and nobody ever seated me in the kitchen again. I raised my glass, the flute's slender stem cool against my palm, and let the champagne's effervescence tingle on my tongue. The strings swelled beneath the vaulted ceiling of the Grand Willow Estate's main hall, and for the first time that evening, I felt I truly belonged. Around me, guests murmured congratulations and clinked toasts, all eyes now on Margaret Emerson, not the back-of-house staff. And yet, the real work was only beginning. The seated Sister Simon leaned in, voice low. Thank you for coming up. I cut him off with a gentle smile. Sit tight, brother. We still have business to settle. His eyebrows shot up. Business? I thought we were done. Part one, I said, raising my finger. Part two is the brunch. You remember your in-laws' event tomorrow morning? Simon's mouth twisted. I know. I've already told Elena your company will handle it. Good. I nodded. But I need your help ensuring our vendors play fair. No more budget cuts. No more surprise menu swaps. He swallowed. I'll handle it. I studied him for a moment, tux perfectly tailored, boutonniere freshly pinned, the faint sheen of sweat at his hairline. Here's the deal. Talk to your event coordinator right now. Make sure they revert to heirloom honey, fresh lavender Kalamata olive drizzle on the yogurt bar, and Eliza at Vintage Linens. Confirm those Italian napkins arrive by 9 a.m. and call Romanov's butler. Our champagne delivery is scheduled at 8:30. It can't be moved, delayed, or downgraded. His jaw clenched. I will. Thank you, I said softly. Then, louder to the table as a whole. Excuse me, everyone. If I could have just a moment. Conversations hushed. My mother's eyes glowed with pride. Elena sat poised, fingering her pearl necklace. I took another sip of champagne and let the hush settle. Good evening, I began, raising my glass. I'm Margaret Emerson, your sister of the groom, and the event planner for tomorrow's brunch. I know some of you thought seating me in the kitchen was an overstep, and you'd be right. Laughter rippled, polite but amused. I'm sorry I had to make a scene, I continued, voice warm, but I had to remind everyone that contracts exist to protect our work. Brunch isn't just toast and coffee. It's the closing note of a wedding weekend, the parting gift we leave your guests with. My team and I have put our hearts into crafting something unforgettable for the Romanov family, and I appreciate your patience and support. I looked to Simon. Thank you for trusting me, even if it took a little kitchen time to prove my point. He stood, raising his glass to me. To Maggie, the only family member who can plan a brunch and negotiate a peace treaty in the same afternoon. Applause filled the hall, glasses clinking. My chest swelled with relief and pride. I slipped back into my seat, resting my hand on Simon's arm. Late-night logistics. After dessert, a delicate petite fours tower that melted on the tongue, the hall emptied slowly. A few lingering aunts chatted over cigars on the terrace. Cousins trailed behind, dabbing their mouths and giggling. I slipped away to the banquet office, where Brittany was packing up event folders. "Hey," she said, surprise lighting her eyes. "Still here?" I laughed, leaning against the desk. "Someone has to finalize tomorrow's plans." She handed me a revised menu in crisp print. Greek yogurt bar, toppings heirloom honey, fresh lavender buds, Kalamata olive drizzle, brunch champagne, Dom Perignon, 2008, linen napkins, Region Toscana heirloom. Everything was back on track. I exhaled, rolling the paper between my fingers. "Thank you," she grinned. "Sorry for the mix-up. My banquet office seating mix-up shouldn't happen again." I winked. "Just keep an eye on Elena's seating chart. We might owe her an apology too." She laughed. "You'll probably end up as her best woman after this." I shook my head. "No thanks. My business card is enough. Good night, Brittany." I headed back into the foyer, where soft dawn lights still clung around the floral install by the entrance. The florist was packing vases. The pianist was tuning his keyboard for tomorrow's pre-brunch cocktail hour. I watched them work, thinking about how a wedding is like a symphony. Every instrument must play on cue. First light at the estate. The next morning, I arrived at Grand Willow Estate at 7 a.m., 2 hours before the first guest. Thick fog wreathed the rose gardens. The sky was a wash of pink and gray. I took a deep breath, brushing back damp strands of hair, and stepped into action. Chef Andre greeted me at the kitchen door, hat in hand. "Good morning, Miss Emerson. We've activated the Greek yogurt bar. The honey is drizzling now." Through the swinging doors, I saw 6 rows of chafing dishes lined up on pristine white-clothed tables. I slipped behind the bar and tasted a spoonful of yogurt. Sweet, tangy, and aromatic with lavender. Perfect. I nodded, pleased. "Beautiful work." Elena appeared beside me, lifting the handle of a silver urn. "Margaret," her voice was tentative. I'm sorry about yesterday." I turned, offering her a gentle smile. "No harm done. We all get busy." She released a breath she'd been holding. "I just wanted everything to be perfect for my family. I forgot how important your presence here was." I nodded. "It's okay, but perfection means teamwork." I patted her shoulder. "Let's make today unforgettable." She smiled, relief in her eyes, and moved on to supervise the coffee station. I watched her go, realizing how easy it is to lose perspective under pressure. The morning rush. By 8:15 a.m., the Romanov family's butler arrived with 3 cases of Dom Perignon. I checked them against the champagne checklist. "Perfect," I murmured, popping the cork on the first bottle and letting it breathe in a crystal decanter. At 8:45, the first guests trickled in, sleepy-eyed aunts and uncles, cousins clutching coffee, laughter rippling as they discovered the yogurt bar, pastries and champagne flute in hand. I greeted each table, ensuring silverware was perfectly aligned and the champagne flutes were never empty. "Margaret," Aunt Lorraine called, wrapping me in a hug. "This is divine." "Thank you," I said, smoothing the napkin hems. "Enjoy." I took a moment to survey the ballroom, guests drifting from table to table, sampling honeyed yogurt, servers refilling croissant baskets, the live cellist playing a gentle waltz. As in all of Emerson Events productions, the rooms were empty of staff, no waiters in sight. Everything moved seamlessly. Glasses glistened, linens draped flawlessly, food stations abundant. I checked my watch. 9:30 a.m., time for the Romanov family's private toast. The Romanov toast. The Romanovs assembled on a raised dais at the front, Mr. and Mrs. Romanov beaming beneath the soft morning light, their children curious and demure, their eldest grandson already texting under the table. Simon joined me with Elena at his side. The glass in my hand felt surprisingly heavy. I guided them to their seats and took up the microphone. "Good morning, everyone," I said, clearing my throat. "On behalf of the Romanov family, I welcome you to this celebratory brunch. Today we honor new beginnings, shared love, and of course, great company and cuisine." I raised a flute of Dom Perignon. "To Simon and Elena, may your lives be as rich and effervescent as this champagne." Glasses clinked. The Romanovs beamed, then sipped. The rest of the room followed suit. A hush fell, broken only by the soft pop of bubbles. Elena's eyes shone as she caught mine. I smiled back, no longer the banished sister, but the planner who had reclaimed her place. A sister's reward. After the toast, I slipped backstage, the discreet hallway that runs behind the ballroom. Simon found me there, removing my heels and wiggling my toes. "That was incredible," he said quietly. "Everyone's talking about how amazing breakfast was." I unbuttoned my blazer. "We delivered what we promised." He ran a hand through his hair, looking sheepish. "Maggie, I'm sorry. I should have thought of your contract and your seat." I shrugged, pulling off my necklace and tucking it into my clutch. "I got the seating I deserved." He reached for my hand. "Can we start over? Sibling glitch? Resolved?" I smiled, squeezing his hand. "Resolved," he grinned. "Best sister ever." I rolled my eyes, but my heart lifted. "Let's get you to brunch before they finish off the last macaron." Epilogue. A contract honored by noon. The Grand Willow estate had emptied, tables cleared, linens folded, leftover pastries boxed for the newly married couple's drive home. I walked through the empty hall, retrieving Emerson Events signage, nodding to the crew who had packed up. In the foyer, I found Simon and Elena, hugging goodbye to their guests. He spotted me and waved. She joined our hug. "Thank you, Maggie," Elena whispered, eyes shining. "For everything." "Anytime," I said, smiling. As they departed, Simon turned to me. "So, what's next for Emerson Events?" I shrugged casually. "More weddings, preferably where I get to sit at the head table." He laughed. "Deal." I checked my phone. A new email from the Romanoffs' butler, to Margaret Emerson, subject: "Our deepest thanks, dear Miss Emerson. On behalf of the Romanoff family, thank you for an unforgettable brunch. Please accept our highest compliments on your professionalism, creativity, and perfect execution. We look forward to working with you again. Warmest regards, Alexander B." Romanoff. I pocketed my phone and turned toward the still-scented roses in the foyer. The venue was settling into afternoon quiet. I felt the weight of the past 2 days lift from my shoulders: the kitchen exile, the contract fight, the late-night logistics, the early morning triumph. I drew in a deep breath, imagining the scent of heirloom honey and lavender replacing the faint boiler steam that clung to my heels. My company's name, Emerson Events, had been reaffirmed in the brightest hour of the weekend. And my family had learned that a contract isn't just ink on paper, but the foundation of trust. I stepped out into the sunlight, heels clicking confidently on the stone steps. Ahead, a waiting car, my Range Rover, parked beneath the mauve roses that had led me here. I climbed in, settled back, and let the engine purr to life. As the Grand Willow estate receded in the rearview mirror, I texted my team back in Sydney. Brunch was a triumph. On to the next adventure. Then I smiled to myself, tapping the steering wheel. The road was open, the lessons learned and the contract, both familial and professional, upheld. And that, dear reader, is how I reclaimed my place at my brother's wedding, honored my company's contract, and proved that sometimes you have to take your seat, whether in the kitchen or the head table, to remind everyone who you truly are.